All right. So I thank you all for joining us today. Today we will be covering in this webinar the Microsoft Voice aspect and the Microsoft Teams Premium aspect. So with that, for our agenda today, you will see on the screen when it comes to the Teams phone connectivity and calling piece, Anthony will be covering that for us. With regards to that, he will be going over the connectivity options we have, the calling plans we have with Microsoft as your telco, the porting process for your telephone numbers, Operator Connect, and Teams Phone Mobile as far as connection is concerned, along with direct routing and its customization aspects, and E911. Following that, we will step into the Teams Premium realm, where myself, Dustin, will go over the new announcements that were made around Teams Premium, some of the features and the overview you can expect as far as the Teams Premium license is concerned, and then we will go along and compare it to what you see currently today on the core side of things and touch on the licensing aspect as far as who needs a license and who will see the benefits, right? And then we will end it with a follow-up with regards to any questions you might have in the chat. So with that being said, Anthony, I will let you start us off.
All right, thanks, Dustin. All right, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you're calling from. So talking about Teams phone overview, we have a lot of customers that have already migrated to Teams or are planning to migrate to Teams as a collaboration platform. Microsoft Teams offers more than just messaging, collaboration, and meeting capabilities. Migrating your calling platform to Teams is taking advantage of the full features of Microsoft Teams. The Microsoft Teams phone system consists of several components. We have the call control and infrastructure. We have the PSTN service and phone numbers. We have our various endpoints, then we have our partners and integrations. For the purpose of the call today, we'll be focusing on connectivity aspect, which consists of PSTN service and phone numbers. So let's talk about the Teams phone connectivity. There are various ways to connect to Microsoft Teams Voice. I have 4 listed here. We have our Microsoft Teams calling plans. We have our Microsoft Teams Phone Mobile. We have Operator Connect. And lastly, we have direct routing. I'll give you a summary about these options, and we can talk in detail about them in a few minutes. Microsoft Teams calling plans is Microsoft's offering, and this is using Microsoft as your PSTN provider, and this is available in 35 markets. Microsoft Teams Phone Mobile enables you to use a single provided number as your mobile and Teams phone number, and this is available in Canada, Sweden, the US, UK, Germany, and Switzerland. Operator Connect lets you choose from Microsoft partners that offer PSTN services, and this is also available in over 60 markets. Direct routing, this is a highly customizable option. This basically integrates an approved SPC with Teams and can utilize your preferred PSTN provider, and this is available in over 180 markets. Each connectivity option can be used independently or combined with others from the tenant, depending on the specific needs of the organization. In certain cases, certain offices or locations may require or prefer Microsoft calling plans, while others may opt for Microsoft Teams direct routing. Sometimes to integrate analog lines or overhead paging with their SPC on-premise. Alternatively, some offices or locations may choose to use Operator Connect for their Microsoft Teams voice connectivity. If you opt for Microsoft calling plans, Microsoft will serve as a PSTN provider. On the other hand, with Operator Connect, Microsoft collaborates with several partners such as AT&T, NTTA, and many more who offer PSTN access. Direct routing, however, requires you to bring your own SIP provider and SPC. Microsoft has certified SPCs that are compatible with Teams Voice, including Cisco, Oracle, Audio Codes, Avaya, and many more. Microsoft has worked with these vendors to create configuration guides to help users integrate their SPCs with Microsoft Teams. You may ask, what is right for me as a customer? The initial step is identifying the best solution for your needs as a customer. If you want a straightforward and speedy setup process without requiring any additional technical configurations, Microsoft Calling Plans may be the most suitable option for you. Microsoft Calling Plans necessitates obtaining a license that includes a certain number of minutes per user, which are pooled for all users. Once you assign the licenses to the users, you can either port your old numbers or choose a range of new numbers and then assign them to the users. The process of acquiring and assigning new numbers can be completed in a matter of minutes. With Operator Connect, you can easily integrate calling while retaining existing service provider agreements and leveraging the customization and flexibility of direct routing. Now, with Microsoft Teams Mobile, on the other hand, this provides all the benefits of Operator Connect, but assigns a single business provided cell phone number as your Teams phone number. Lastly, direct routing, this is an extremely customizable approach that enables customers to retain existing service provider agreements and use either on-premise or cloud-based solutions. So if you're interested in survivability, this is another advantage of direct routing. And I'll talk more about the PSTN choices in depth in the next couple of slides. So let's dive into Microsoft Teams calling plans. So Microsoft calling plans are a first-party solution that offers a quick and straightforward method of setting up calling. However, it lacks the customization and flexibility of direct routing or Operator Connect. Unlike direct routing or Operator Connect, Microsoft calling plans does not require a session border controller or a voice trunk. You have the option to acquire either a domestic calling plan or a domestic and international calling plan. The minutes for these plans are pooled together and shared amongst your licensed users. If your users have domestic calling plans, their minutes are pooled together. However, if your users have domestic and international calling plans, the minutes are pooled separately. Suppose you have purchased or assigned a domestic calling plan to a user and they need to make international calls. In this situation, you can utilize something called communication credit licenses, which enables users to make international calls but are billed per minute. You can also port your existing numbers to Microsoft. Calling plans also offer dynamic emergency calling, which we'll discuss later on. And I also have here a map that shows different markets where we have Microsoft calling plans globally. Obtaining and assigning telephone numbers in the Microsoft Teams admin portal is a simple process, and there are different types of numbers available, including user numbers and service numbers. And if you ask, user numbers are assigned to individual users, whereas service numbers are assigned to resource accounts utilized for auto attendants and call queues. You also have the option to choose between toll and toll-free numbers for your service numbers. We have people that have 1-800 numbers also for their auto attendants or their call queues. If you're interested in dedicated conference bridge numbers, you can order them here too, and you can choose between toll and toll-free numbers for this. So by default, you are assigned shared conference bridge numbers for your conference bridge by default. And I get asked that question a lot of times. Next, let's talk about porting your phone numbers to Microsoft calling plans. Porting your existing phone numbers to Microsoft Teams Voice is a simple process, and we have a wizard within Teams admin portal you can follow, which will require you to answer a few questions about your current phone numbers and your environment. You will be asked to provide some details about your service address. After obtaining a list of the numbers you want to transfer in E164 format, you can enter them into a CSV file. You also need to decide on your port date and have information on the authorized signatory for the letter of authorization. Once you have all this necessary information, you can proceed with the wizard and you will receive the letter of authorization once you're done, which must be signed and submitted back to Microsoft. Keep in mind that each set of numbers with a billing telephone number should be transferred separately. Your toll and toll-free numbers will also require a separate transfer. Next, let's talk about Operator Connect. In our earlier discussion about PSTN connectivity options, we briefly mentioned Operator Connect as an alternative to Microsoft calling plans and direct routing. With Operator Connect, you can select from a range of partners, including AT&T, Verizon, NTT, IntelliPay, and many more. By opting for Operator Connect, you can bring in your own telecom operator and set up the service within minutes. Additionally, you can save on infrastructure costs, and the operator can provide technical support and service level agreements. One of the reasons some customers choose Operator Connect is because they have existing agreements with that operator that offers PSTN service on their current phone system or PBX, and they want to transition to Microsoft Teams Voice. In such cases, the operator can switch them over to Operator Connect within Microsoft Teams from whatever they currently have on their PBX. Another reason why customers may prefer Operator Connect is if there is an Operator Connect partner in the market where Microsoft calling plans are not available and the customer does not want to use direct routing. Operator Connect can also be set up in minutes. And remember again, there is no infrastructure purchase or management. Managing your Operator Connect phone numbers can be done within the Teams admin portal, just the way we have on the calling plans. And looking at the map over here, you can see we have Operator Connect in a lot of markets around the world as well. Let's talk about Teams Phone Mobile, which is the latest addition to the list. Having a single phone number for both Teams and your mobile phone is very convenient. When someone calls your business phone number, it will ring on both your mobile phone and Teams. When you make outbound calls using your mobile phone native dialer, your Teams present status will be updated to show that you are in a call. In addition, your call history and voicemail will be available on both your mobile phone and Teams. You can also configure your outbound calls to display your business phone number, keeping your personal number private. Now, lastly, let's talk about direct routing. With direct routing, you can bring your own PSTN trunk. This can be beneficial in countries or regions that do not have calling plans or Operator Connect. Direct routing also provides an option to connect your existing PBX to Teams. This approach also supports phased migration to Teams Voice and enables your users to dial between Teams Phone and your current PBX. Another advantage is that it allows the support of analog devices, which is not possible with Microsoft calling plans. To set up direct routing, you need to have a session border controller. Microsoft provides instructions on how to set the various SBCs up, the session border controllers up, and vendors have detailed documentation on these configurations as well. And you can see here in the image where you can see the session border controller, your analog telephone lines, and even your third-party PBX between the PSTN trunk and Teams. It is important to understand calling plans and direct routing in detail. This slide shows a company that utilizes two separate options without any coexistence. So they have two types of users who either use calling plans or direct routing. And these systems are completely separate, but are being utilized on the same tenant. Any PSTN calls made by users with calling plans are done through calling plans, while users with direct routing make their PSTN calls through direct routing. In the scenario where a Teams user with a calling plan calls a user with direct routing, the call will be converted to VoIP and connection will be established between the two clients directly without the need for PSTN access. So like I was saying earlier, you can, with the various connectivity options. So in this situation, we have calling plan plus direct routing. Some customers could have operator connect with calling plans or operator connect with direct routing. You can have this connectivity options in the same Teams tenant. So you can have them there. You can assign licenses to the users for the calling plans, or you can have some end users tied to Operator Connect and some maybe on direct routing. So I have some of the direct routing SBC providers. Some can be deployed virtually, and some have physical devices that can be racked and stacked and configured, on-prem or in the data center. It really depends on the customer, on your use case. So there are three ways we can deploy direct routing. It can be customer hosted on-prem or in Azure, like I mentioned. It can be partner hosted in the cloud, or it can be partner hosted in the cloud as a service. I always recommend, if you choose to go the direct routing path, best practice is to have this as a high availability setup. That way you have, fault tolerance on your SBCs. So I want to discuss Teams phone licensing a little bit. Teams peer-to-peer calling comes with your Teams phone licenses. So Teams phone standard license can be an add-on with your E1, A1, E3, or A3. Teams phone standard is already included with your E5 and A5 licenses. So if you choose to go with calling plans, all you need in addition to the phone standard license or the E5 or A5 license is the calling plans license for your PSTN access. This is in a situation you decide to have Microsoft as your PSTN provider. Have in mind that if you're going with direct routing or Operator Connect, you don't need the calling plan licenses. So if you decide, hey, I'm just going to have an SPC and my preferred a PSTN provider, in that situation, all you need is your phone standard license, or if you have your E5 or A5 licenses, you don't need to purchase calling plan licenses for those users. So you can get connectivity through direct routing that way to your PSTN or for your PSTN calls. Let me bring up my tenant and show you what it looks like to acquire a number from Microsoft, and also give you an idea what it looks like putting a number to Microsoft. Also would like to show you what Operator Connect looks like and where you can add an SPC to your tenant for direct routing. And some of us probably have not, don't have visibility, or may have not played with the Teams admin portal. So this will give us an idea, an overview of what it looks like. All right, so this is my Teams tenant or my Teams admin portal. And, get in here, you can get here from the, you can bookmark that address, or, if you know the URL, admin.teams.microsoft.com. You can also get here from the admin center by clicking on the Teams admin portal. But what we care for here in terms of connectivity is the voice aspect. So phone numbers, Operator Connect, or direct routing. So let's start with phone numbers, which is going to be looking at our calling plans, right? So if I purchase licenses and for my users, and I would like to acquire a number. So over here, there are two things you can do. You can either add a number, or you can go through a wizard and port your number from your existing PSTN provider. So let's look at adding a number. So if I just click on add, and I'll give it a name. And I can also, it's required to have a description. So you can call it whatever. The way I normally do this is when I'm acquiring numbers, I try to, at least in production, give it the name of, if for example, you're trying to acquire a number for a specific region, a city, you can give the city name, region name, and a date to give you an idea when you go into history, when this was done, what city it was pulled for. That's just something I like to do, but you can have this done whichever way you prefer. So in this situation, we're just going to choose United States. Then I'm going to select a number type. So I mentioned earlier that there are different types of numbers that you can acquire from Microsoft. So you can see here, we have user numbers, we have toll numbers for call queues, toll numbers for auto attendants, toll free for call queue, toll free for auto attendants. Then of course, you also have the conference bridge, dedicated tolls and dedicated toll free. So here we're going to choose user numbers. So of course, it's asking us, who's the operator? Of course, Microsoft. How many numbers do I need? For now, I'll say 2. So it will ask search by city name. If you don't have a city already configured in your tenant, you can add that in here. I already have Lawrenceville. This is in Georgia. So I'll just select this. And it will do its thing, go in there and look for area codes that are available. So I'm going to search and say, oh, yeah, there is a 470 area code available. There's a 678 number area code available. So I'm just going to say 470, and I can hit next. And once I hit next, it's just going to go out there in the database, go pull, available numbers for me. So you can see here, I have 2 numbers that I just tried to acquire from Microsoft. And it gives you a timer over here, number of minutes remaining to complete this order. If I wanted to place the order, or if I just want to cancel and go back. So in this situation, I'm just going to cancel it. I don't want to acquire these numbers. I don't need to waste them. So I'm just going to hit cancel here. But that's how quick it is to acquire numbers from Microsoft. So if I had licenses, I had my users already in here, I just acquired 2 numbers and I can assign those numbers to those users. So let's discard this and let me show you what it looks like when you acquire a number. So if I slide to the right here, you can see here, if I pick those numbers, they will come in as unassigned. So I have 2 numbers here that are actually unassigned, and I can assign those numbers to whatever users need them. And if you remember earlier, I said there were 2 types of numbers, at least the service numbers and the user numbers. So you can see here, we have something called voice app assigned, but these are service numbers, and this one is assigned to a call queue, the other is assigned to an auto attendant. Please, if you have any questions as I'm going through, this slide deck and this demo, if you can put that in chat, we'll be happy to respond to everyone. Going on forward, also, let's talk about porting the number to calling plans to Microsoft. So if I click on port, I mentioned earlier there's a wizard, so you can see the different steps. You select a country or region. You add, you can add your numbers, to CSV file. You put in your information about your, your business, or your company, the number of features, and you complete the order. So it also gives you details of what you need. You need your account information from your current service provider. It tells you not to disconnect or cancel any of the phone numbers you currently have. All your phone numbers being transferred must all be from the same service provider. And it tells you more about the types of numbers that can be transferred, your transfer dates, and also the LOA, letter of authorization I mentioned earlier. So once you have all this information, you hit next, and it's same thing. It's going to ask you, what region. You pick a region, and it's going to ask, is it a geographic number or is it a toll-free number? So of course, if it's a geographic number, it tells you, hey, these are the types of features that can use a geographic number. So I'm not going to finish this step since I don't have any numbers I'm trying to port, but just talking about it, it's going to ask you for your billing telephone number. So one thing Microsoft has done very well is it will verify your billing telephone number, for the list of numbers that you're trying to port. If that check comes back and it's not correct, of course, you can go back into your bill. A lot of times it's listed in there where your billing telephone number is, and if it's something of course, you want to put that in. So you put that information in there. If you're only porting a few numbers, you can type them up. If you have hundreds of numbers, you basically want to put them in a CSV file and upload that file into the system. Once you do that, it will ask you to pick a date that you would like to port that number, a date and a time actually that you would like those numbers ported. You fill that information in, you put your information also, name, address and all that, and you submit that to Microsoft. Once you submit that to Microsoft, you'll get a letter of authorization basically saying, hey, Mr. or Mrs. A is trying to, put these numbers, and you're asking Microsoft to work with the losing carrier to port those numbers, to Microsoft. Once that is approved, you'll get an email from Microsoft saying, hey, everything looks good, everything is approved, and your porting should happen on the date you chose. If for some reason Microsoft goes through and we run into a snag from the information that you put in, we'll assign you an engineer that will work with you to fix that problem. So you have an engineer assigned to you. You guys will, collaborate, fix that issue with maybe the number or the provider, and we'll go ahead and work with that losing carrier and put those numbers on the date you chose. If we need for you to pick another date, we'll give you that information. If not, that date you chose is the date that will put those numbers. So if you acquired numbers, or you put in numbers, you have the history here, showing the days, the numbers you put it or the dates. And also, if you ever acquired numbers from Microsoft, it will show the history. Another thing I'd like to show here also is something that's called routing rules. Routing rules basically is if you have a set of numbers that you either put it in or maybe even you acquired, and when people call that number, you don't want them to get like a fast busy. What routing rules is basically is that you can route those numbers to an application or a person. So you can come in here and you can say, hey, number starting or ending with, or phone number range. If it's a single number, you can even have an advanced setup. So for example, here I have number starting with 469. What would I like to do? I would like to send it to a voice application, but you also have an option to send to a greeting or to a person in an organization. But the way I have mine here, I said all numbers that are not assigned to a person that starts with a 469, I'd like to send it to a queue. So you can send it to a call queue, you can send it to an auto attendant. So that way, when people call that number, if that call is routed to a person, or it's routed to a greeting, or is routed to an application within your environment. So that's something amazing that we have in here, at least not to lose for your users, to be able to still call that number and get information about your business. The other thing here we talked about is Operator Connect. So I mentioned that Microsoft works with a couple of operators here. So you can see all the operators, but of course this is globally. So I can say remove all regions. I'm typing United States. So if I click on this, this will show you all the operators that we work with in the US that you can get PSTN access through using the Operator Connect feature that we have. So you can see lots of vendors here: IntelliPay, AT&T, Cox, NTT, LoopUp, name it, PureIP. You can choose from any of these vendors. And another thing is some of them offer phone calling, audio conferencing, and Teams Phone Mobile. So if I just wanted phone calling alone, I have 26 operators. If I wanted just Teams Phone Mobile, you can see here we have Verizon. So, you can pick and choose here who you would like to work with, and you work with that operator, and they help you move your numbers from either you acquire numbers from them, or you can move your numbers if you already have a relationship with them from your either PRIs, SIP, POTS lines, whatever it is that you currently have with that PSTN provider, you can move that over to Teams. Once you have that done, you'll see here under My Operators, it'll show the name of the operator that you're working with. Lastly, let's talk about direct routing. So I mentioned here direct routing, of course. This is going to be an SPC that you're managing on-prem or you're managing in the cloud. It could be virtual, it could be physical, or you can have a partner or a vendor managing this for you. So, but this is where you literally add your SPC, and just let me click on this one that I already have in here. No need trying to create another one. It's currently turned off. But adding an SPC, really, you just need the FQDN of that SPC. Of course, you need to have it enabled. You need the port number. By default, Microsoft Teams gives you port 5067. You can change that. I know some SPCs out there, the default is 5061. You have the option of changing it either on the SPC or changing it here in Teams. One thing to have in mind is it just needs to match, right? So your SIP signaling ports need to match. Then, of course, you can turn on the different features here. Do you want to have, send options being enabled, forward call history, PI or PI. Then you also can set up your current call capacity. Is it 20, 50, 500? You can have that set up in here. Then, you have your failure response codes, your failover time. If you have multiple SPCs in here, you can have your failover time. You can set up, the current call capacity. So that way the system knows, hey, this is the details that you have in SPC1. This is details you have in SPC2, and it can fail over whichever way you have it designed or configured. Another thing is sometimes the PSTN provider will have that load balancing for you on their end, as long as you have, those SPCs configured within Teams. Another thing to point out here, you also have your bit flow. So this is for your E911. You want to make sure your PSTN provider has that enabled. You also need to make sure that you have whatever it is you need configured on your SPC to allow for your emergency calls pass through that SPC to PSAP through your PSTN provider. So you just have to have that toggled on over here within the Teams admin portal. Now with Operator Connect and calling plans, that already comes with those licenses. Already comes with that with that feature. With direct routing, as an admin or engineer or user, you have to make sure you do what is right on your end to make sure this is configured appropriately on the SPC. So that's something to have there. You also have your location-based routing and media optimization. So you can enable media bypass, the bypass mode, preferred country or region for media traffic. So there are options here that you can configure. Now, of course, something like this is optional. What's mandatory is this option over here on top. So yeah, this gives you an idea what the PSTN connectivities are between calling plans, Operator Connect, and direct routing. So let me go back to my slide deck and we'll cover a couple of things here before Dustin takes over from me. So let me go back and finish up the slide deck I was working with. So let's talk about dynamic E911, which was the last thing I just mentioned here with Pitflow and direct routing, right? So we cannot have a PSTN calling conversation without talking about E911. And dynamic E911 is a feature from Microsoft Teams for US-based users, which allows for auto detection of the user's location or the ability to provide an editable location to alert personnel in the event of an emergency. And admins can enable dynamic emergency calling by enabling the dynamic in-hour policy for the users. Admins will need to configure locations and places within the tenant for the system to recognize when a user is on premise and where the user is exactly on premise. So this feature uses subnets, switches, switch ports, or BSS IDs for your wireless devices to identify where a user is on premise. We can also enable in-hour for users working remotely. Your admins will need to configure the public IPs as trusted IPs within the tenant. And this mechanism is a system that uses when a user is on premise or if a user is remote. So Microsoft Teams gives you the opportunity to edit your location within the client if you need to. You can see here in the diagram here where it says edit your address. So if you're remote and, for example, if you're in a busy location or downtown, even maybe an apartment, if you're working remote, you have the option. So for example, it finds the address, but maybe you're missing like an apartment number or you're missing a suite. You can have that edited in here within your client. And when I say within your client, I'm talking about even on your mobile, your desktop, Teams desktop client, or even your physical Teams devices, your physical Teams phone, so your desktop phones. You can go in there and you can edit that information on that phone. So admins can also inform users about emergency calling through a customizable disclaimer that will appear at the top of the calling app. So you can have a disclaimer here, on the top here, basically letting your users know that, hey, you can make 911 calls, but make sure you verify that the address you have over there, on your Teams client is correct. So you can view your location within Teams, also within the settings. So on the Teams client, you can view your location and settings. So if you go down to calls, you see where it says emergency location. You can view it there. You can also view it from where I said when you click on calls, it shows in the bottom left under the dial pad, the location that the system is pulling. So with Microsoft Teams Voice, your users are covered in regards to Kerry's Law and Rebounds Act. And if you're wondering, what these laws are, and I think these laws were enforced, I believe was last year. Kerry's Law ensures anyone can reach 911 center from any PBX, regardless of what is dialed. Rebounds Act emphasizes the importance of sharing your precise location information when dialing 911. So this, with Teams, we cover, these two laws. The system has the features in there to help you set up your environment to make sure that these laws are covered. And this rounds it up on my end, talking about connectivity with Teams, and I'll pass it on to Dustin, and he'll talk about Teams Premium. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anthony. So yeah, kind of transitioning here to the Teams Premium side of things. When we really focus in on Teams Premium, we're going to focus on kind of 4 separate pillars, right? So when we're focusing now towards the shift of what you have today with regards to Teams Core and what you'd be getting in Teams Premium, it's really going to bring to focus that next level intelligence factor, right? So when we're focusing in on that, it's going to go over things that are powered by not only our AI, GPT, and OpenAI forces kind of coming together to make you a more robust intelligence platform as far as Teams Premium is concerned. We also have improved meeting experiences to make them more personalized. Security-wise, we've ramped up as far as security is concerned in the all-up meeting protection world. And then we also have the all-up kind of comparison that I'll show you as far as being able to do more with less, kind of seeing where we're at in core and where it's going in the premium side of things. So with that being said, we will kind of kick it off here. So the first one, like we spoke on just a second ago, is going to focus in on the intelligent aspect, right? So when we talk about intelligent recap, one of the main items that is being delivered in Teams Premium, it's giving you those automatically generated meeting notes, right? So when I say that it's going to point out notes, tasks, key points, action items, anything that was maybe missed during your meeting, it's going to give you specific call outs in the recording and make it easy for you to kind of hone in on once the meeting itself is done and wrapped up. All while being easy to navigate as far as those recordings are concerned, and giving you chapters, right? Giving you an easier way to kind of separate the topics based on said conversation. So as you can see here, Intelligent Recap is really all about making sure that you have what you just discussed kind of at the tip of your fingers. And right after the meeting is done, you'll see it kind of wrapped up into one specific section of your team's meeting. And then from there, you'll be able to easily access it. So like I said earlier, this is using some back-end AI generation created here at Microsoft, and also using our large language models to kind of parse that all together and make it one specific content piece for you. So you don't have to go and grab notes from one place. You don't have to go and grab files from another place. It all kind of wraps it up here for you. It makes it really easy to use. The next portion of what we really brought into the Teams premium side of things is going to be on live translations in our meeting captions. So now you will see with Teams Premium, you're going to see that AI backend again come to real life and produce 40 different languages for you during your meeting, right? So if someone goes into the meeting and they're speaking a language that you are not coherent with, maybe it's not native tongue to you, you can then simply just choose to have that specific language translated live, right, while the meeting is happening to your current native tongue. And then from there, you'll be able to see it in a narrative form on the bottom, giving you that caption. So really, really cool and really powerful when it comes to kind of taking place in meetings worldwide and on a global aspect. On the more personalization side of things, it's now essentially bringing more brand enablement and brand infusing to the forefront when it comes to Teams Premium, right? So for one aspect, meetings themselves aren't necessarily a one-size-fits-all. You'll now be able to customize meeting guides for all of those different experiences and audiences, right? So if you have, like, let's say, a help desk call or a client call or a specific setup for specific scenarios, you can then push those to the forefront and have your users see those templates in real time, so they can just simply click on said template, which you've pushed with specific policies or best practices that you want to have in said meeting, and they can just simply go right into that specific formatted meeting. Another thing, as far as branding is concerned, throwing in custom backgrounds with those policies, right? So now if you want users only to have your company logo for their backgrounds, you can now push that as far as a policy is concerned, where you can now have those custom backgrounds and together modes just for your organizational based options, right? So it's never going to essentially compromise your brand, where if you push it and make it so it's only accessible to certain features of those branding requirements. So yeah. On the security side of things, when it comes down to Teams Premium, this is another heavy hitter that they really dove deep on. With new meeting options such as watermarking, it's going to help you now deter those leaks, limit who can record, and give you additional protections to keep those said discussions private. We now have full end-to-end encryption for those online meetings, as compared to before where it was just one-to-one. You're now going to see up to 50 individuals be able to be in said meeting and have that meeting fully encrypted. And now when you get into the more sensitivity label section, if you're currently an E5 customer, with those advanced security options, you can now leverage the existing Microsoft Purview information protection sensitivity labels that you've already created and apply those to your meetings and calls. So that's making the meetings themselves set up for more protection, right? And even easier to use. You're simply just selecting one of your familiar sensitivity labels that you've maybe already created and choosing it to protect sensitive data across not only Teams, but all of Microsoft 365. So Really cool how that kind of falls into place just as you were using it before. And maybe, let's say, emails. If it was set as a highly confidential email, you can now do so across calls and meetings. So very, very powerful when it comes to that. The next phase here is going to be all about webinars and meetings, as far as what's been kind of rebuffed and kind of made more, I guess you would say, all up delightful, right? So what's really happening now is, number one, they're giving customers like you a personalized end-to-end experience, right? So with that, you're going to see pre-appointment SMS text reminders. You're going to see custom branded lobby rooms for all of those individuals. And then also post-appointment follow-ups via SMS and via email, right? So with that said queue view of scheduled and on-demand appointments in one location, your users will find it very easy to see who's coming into the next appointment, who may be declined, and see all of those different options, and one of them being those chat capabilities if you wanted to chat with them in real time. When it comes to the all-up insights and trends, you can now view all those in real time as well, such as no-shows, wait times, and this will also help drive better customer experiences across the board when you have those analytics available to you. So all of that kind of funnels into one experience, making it kind of frictionless, right? So it's not kind of a cumbersome join where they have to go and grab Teams apps and make sure they're installed. With the new virtual appointments, you now no longer need the actual Teams application on your mobile devices. It's a simple click on whether it's the SMS invite or the email invite, and you're brought right into that branded lobby room. So again, not really going to be cumbersome on those customers when they join your specific virtual appointments. So very neat there as well. When we step into the webinar section, right? So webinars themselves also got very, very unique premium features added to them. So one of them being a virtual green room, right? So now you have a separate space for your presenters to come into the room, stage content, socialize with one another, prep anything that might be going on beforehand, and then pushing to go live. So just as we were today in this webinar, we can create that separate space beforehand to make sure we have things all teed up and ready to rock and roll as far as the webinar is concerned before we push it live to the general audience. Now you have the options as well to respond to those chats and Q&As in a moderated section as well, so those attendees know that they will always be answered in a timely fashion. Another option that was brought in and kind of made more robust is being able to minimize those distractions while you're in a webinar, right? So you can now curate and manage what they actually see on screen, kind of pushing stuff and queuing it up before it goes live and making sure they're seeing what you want them to see, right? Not just slides that run through over and over or a video that keeps looping. You can now make sure that you have everything on screen and curated during that webinar. Very, very structured in how that's all done now. And now, finally, as far as attendees are concerned, you'll be able to attract more attendees as an organizer with regards to confirmation emails. You have an automatic reminder email that can be sent as well before specific webinars, and all-up engagement reports as well to track who came, as far as attendance and who registered and all of that fun stuff as well when it comes to the webinar look and feel. So just a more visual look and feel of what's now being included in Teams Premium. This is kind of what you'll see. And as you see on the screen there, as far as the emails are concerned and the registration waitlist, manual approvals, the behind the scenes view there where you see the actual queue itself before you go live. And then the all-up content now is being streamed with regards to an RTMP in, right? So a lot more ease of use as far as making sure that the content is delivered in a crisp and clear manner. So yeah, that kind of wraps up most of the features that are being seen in Teams Premium. Again, it's not all of them, just some of the big hitters. And as we discussed earlier, as far as how this is all laid out, on the left-hand side, you're going to see what you're seeing today in Teams Core, right? So everything that you play around with today and what you utilize, on a daily basis. And then everything on the right-hand side that I highlighted for you, feel free and take a screenshot. This is everything that is coming with Teams Premium. So those 4 big hitters that I touched on here as far as features is essentially what you can expect in comparison to core versus premium, right? And with that, you're going to see a lot of questions come up as far as licensing is concerned, right? So when we step into the licensing world and who needs what license in order to take advantage of these different scenarios, feel free and take a screenshot of this too. This has been very, very helpful when I'm talking with customers. So basically Teams Premium, it's going to be a per user per month offering, where each user who needs to access that Teams Premium functionality needs to have a license assigned. So the only way to essentially ensure users have access to Teams Premium is to obviously assign them a license, right? However, there is some specific meeting and event features that extend out. So as you can see in this matrix, this type of extended coverage is done to make sure that all attendees have a uniform and inline experience with everybody else, right? So extended coverage scenarios can't be used necessarily as a mechanism to under license, but it is again used for you to make sure that you don't need to over license, right? So for example, we focus in on, let's say, advanced virtual appointments. It's always recommended to license the meeting organizer and the meeting scheduler or any of the speakers, right? So any user within the organization who then wants to use the virtual appointment actions and the data itself would no longer need a license for anybody that comes in as far as an external participant. So basically those that need a license are going to be the organizers, and those that come in and view the content would not need one, right? So just kind of a little caveat there to take advantage of that. But then as you see, as you kind of flow through this as far as what you see on who needs the license, obviously for live translation, the meeting organizer would essentially need to have the license to kind of kick it off. And if anybody comes into said room that has a person that has a Teams Premium that started the meeting or organized it, they would then be able to utilize that feature set to grab live translation, right? But the big difference here is if you wanted to take part in the intelligent recap, where you get all of those notes and all of those custom generated tasks and AI timelines, you would need it at a user level, not just at the organizer or scheduler level. So again, just kind of comparing and contrasting the licenses there and who needs one. So feel free, screenshot, take a look. But other than that, if you would like to try Teams Premium today, it is out there. You can trial this out, setting up that environment. It is out there as far as a trial is concerned. They do have it listed on the Teams Premium website as well. Should you have any interest in this as well, please reach out to the Microsoft account representative that is positioned towards you, and they'll definitely get you some more information as far as trials or announcements or anything like that. But other than that, we will end our time here today. I thank you so much for everything as far as listening in, and have a great afternoon or morning wherever you sit, and best wishes. Thank you so much.